You've seen them at least once in your lifetime and probably driven through them multiple times. You may have a wonderful love-hate relationship with them, but they are some of the most intriguing examples of how multiple devices fused together can deliver some of the most innovative technologies on our roads. These days, they are almost easy to ignore, but there was a time where tolling didn't let you just glide through it. You saw it, and you definitely felt it. There are these long concrete plazas stretched across the highways like walls. Lanes narrowed, brake lights stacked up, and every driver knew what was coming next. You were about to stop. For a long time, this was the most optimal way for tolling to work. But now, it's completely different. And in my opinion, it's way better. I'm also maybe a bit biased because I'm a transportation technology geek, but don't let that change your mind. Today, we're getting to the fun adventures of tolling and how it went from something that physically stopped traffic into almost disappearing into charging you without you even noticing it. And also, I want to provide a quick walkthrough of the steps of what happens when you trigger a gantry, when you approach it, and how the future may not even require all this infrastructure at all. Welcome back, I'm Marquis, and this is Tech That Moves Us. This is where we unpack the hidden systems that quietly shape how we move through cities, highways, and everyday life. So we're gonna start back in the good old times, in the early days when tolling was simple. And I feel like everybody always says things were always simple back in the days. Possibly. If you want to charge people for using a road, you have to physically stop them. There was no other option. Now, there are always other options, but let's focus on the legal ones today. So toll plazas were built as massive physical checkpoints. Wide concrete islands, steel canopies, individual lanes, and attendants collecting cash and coins. Every transaction required a stop, an exchange, and a release. From an engineering standpoint, it was a dream. From a traffic standpoint, it was a total nightmare. As traffic volumes grew, toll plazas became a permanent bottleneck. Sometimes, during peak travel periods, the backup would stretch for miles. Drivers merged aggressively, rear-end crashes, they were very common. And the plaza itself often became the most dangerous part of the highway. But for decades, this was a necessary evil and completely unavoidable. Well, unless you want to brave the city streets, but that came with its own set of problems. Remember traffic signal timing? Because at that time, tolling required human interaction. As traffic volumes continued to explode, furthering congestion, tolling agencies began experimenting with ways to speed things up because the current situation, it just wasn't sustainable. So what did they try? Well, they tried exact change lanes, coin baskets, tokens, and magnetic stripe cards. Although these provided an improvement to traffic flow, they didn't eliminate the core problem, which was vehicles still had to slow down, determine which lanes to use, and the toll plaza still dictated the traffic flow. The bottleneck remained, and safety was still a significant issue. What engineers really needed was a major shakeup. And when you give us a major shakeup like a challenge like that, we go all out with some crazy ideals. But the crazy idea was to remove the booth entirely from the picture. With that ideal in place, the real shift began. And that's where we talk about electronic toll collection, or ETC. One of the most important technologies for ETC to work were these RFID transponders like this one, mounted on the windshield and enable vehicles to be electronically identified as they pass through the lane. This was a massive leap forward and a good first step to removing toll booths. Drivers could now roll through the toll lanes without stopping, which means traffic throughput increased and congestion decreased. Well, at least in those lanes that had their toll tags. As drivers start to realize the benefit of using these RFID tags, the adoption rate was increasing, but however, like most new technologies, it wasn't increasing fast enough. Even with this new technology, the infrastructure didn't change yet. Booths were still there, cash lanes still existed, and highways were still designed around stopping traffic. Electronic tolling improved the experience, but it didn't fundamentally change the core problem. That change is what we're going to talk about next. One of the following breakthroughs was all about adding vision to the toll roads and leveraging cameras. More specifically, As high-speed cameras improved and image processing improved, agencies realized they could identify vehicles without transponders by reading license plates. This was a major turning point for tolling. With vision on the toll gantries and booths, now you could capture a highway plate at speed, reliably read it, match it to its registered owner, and bill it digitally. Tolling would no longer require physical interaction at all. And you digging around for spare change in your void of a glove box kind of went away. Now with vision plus tags, it became much more reliable. The actual physical booth stopped making operational sense. That led to the question that the industry started asking, well, why do we need to build massive plazas anyway if everything could happen overhead? And this is where the birth of the toll gantry became reality. You know the modern gantry that you probably see every day on your commute when you're on the toll road? Instead of forcing vehicles to stop, agencies began installing structures that span the entire roadway, carrying all the technology needed to capture tolls at speed. No reconfigured water lanes at the booth, no gates, and no concrete islands. Just sensors, cameras, and systems working invisibly above traffic. Tolling shifted from a point of payment system to a point of detection system. And that shift changed everything. Let's get to the fun part now. I want to walk you through what happens when you approach a toll gantry. So let's imagine we're standing next to an active toll gantry. And I say imagine because me being on those streets around the gantry was just chaos and not safe. Before anything gets read, scanned, or billed, something has to tell the system that a vehicle is here. In many tolling systems, the first trigger still comes from that existing old school detection technology, those inductive loops I spoke about, which is going to be linked here. Embedded in the pavement, either below or just before the gantry, are loop detectors, similar to what we talked about at traffic signals. As the vehicle passes over them, the metal changes and disrupts the magnetic field, and it tells the system, hey, I'm here. I'm in the toll zone. Think of a loop as a knock on the door. It doesn't charge anything yet. It doesn't identify the vehicle yet. It just simply wakes the system up and says, get ready, someone's coming. That trigger helps gantries coordinate timing across all its equipment, making sure everything downstream is synchronized and ready. Once that vehicle's presence is detected, the next layer kicks in, the toll tag detection. You know that RFID tag we talked about? So these RFID readers, these right here, mounted above the toll lanes, immediately begin listening for a transponder signal from the windshield tag, this one. If a tag is present, the reader and the tag exchange information in a fraction of a second, confirming the account, logging the timestamp, and associating it to a specific vehicle. Just think, all this happens at highway speed without the driver even noticing or even slowing down. It's an amazing leap from the booths of the past. The one thing about tolling that's non-negotiable is redundancy. It is everything. So that means the system that just read your tag, there's also another system to capture more data of the transaction. That's why next to those readers, you'll see license plate cameras like this one, which can typically be pointed in front or the rear license plate. So if you think not having a front license plate is gonna save you, think again. These cameras are designed to work at highway speeds through vibration and low light. Although several installations can use infrared, a flash, or some LED light source to increase the clarity of these plates. If the tag doesn't read, or the driver doesn't have one, then the cameras take over seamlessly. Behind the scenes of these cameras, we have optical character recognition, or OCR. This software analyzes those images, identifies the plate, determines the issuing jurisdiction, and links it to a billing record. At this point, tolling has become software driven. And of course, with any technology, it's not perfect. So we still have human interaction to confirm and audit some of these transactions. But the gantry still isn't done yet, because we gotta know what kind of vehicle just passed in the zone. That's where various technologies, depending on the provider, can use laser profilers, axle detectors, sometimes radar and LiDAR to measure the vehicle's shape, height, length, and axle count. That's how system distinguishes between a passenger car, a truck, or a vehicle towing a trailer. And all applies to toll based on that information. All without the vehicle slowing down in traffic. Between the information on your tag, your license plate, and your vehicle profile, agencies can easily identify your account and charge you as the traveler. To get this data somewhere, there's a hidden brain and network behind it. The tag info, the plate information, the vehicle profile, and the timestamps are nicely packaged up and sent to the toll gantry's local controller, which is an industrial computer acting as the system's brain. If communication drops, it stores everything locally until the communication is restored. It connects to back office systems through fiber optic networks, which handles the billing, the customer accounts, dispute resolution, and any analytics. Redundancy is always built in because missed transactions aren't acceptable. And like with everything, there's always a KPI attached and it must be met. This is a mixture of physical transportation infrastructure and financial infrastructure working cohesively at the same time. Now that you understand how toll gantries work with this high-level walkthrough, I want to provide a small glimpse into the future of what tolling could be. So, if tollings went from booths to gantries in just a few decades, then the next phase might feel more invisible than today. Because the future of tolling, it probably won't require any toll gantry infrastructure at all and moving to onboard systems that charge you. So it's going from roadside detection to in-vehicle tolling. So how does one get charged when you don't have any roadside detection units? Well, that means your tolling can be calculated on a few things. The distance traveled, the time of day, congestion in the lanes, vehicle type, and the emissions class. Your vehicle could handle all those transactions directly, securely, automatically, and continuously. The road won't need to charge you anymore. Your vehicle would. Even more charges on your vehicle. Great, right? Some regions are already testing tolling systems based off of satellite positioning, using the global navigation satellite systems, or GNSS instead of gantries. In this model, there are no fixed toll points, no overhead structures, and no cameras. Charges are calculated based on how far you traveled on these toll facilities. They open door to several things, such as per mile pricing, congestion-based pricing across entire corridors, dynamic tolling that adjusts continuously, and more equitable pricing models. It's a completely different way to think about toll roads. And as V2X is a major player in the future, with connected vehicles and V2X communication, tolling can become just another background service. No accounts to manage, no tags to install, no place to scan. Your vehicle identity, location, and payment credentials are securely handled in the background, similar to how digital wallets work on your phone. You don't pay a toll, you simply drive. So does it mean toll gantry are going to disappear tomorrow or next year? No. They will be around for quite a while. They're reliable, they're proven, and they work for every vehicle, whether you have an older one or a newer one. But over time, gantries may become fewer, simpler, more focused on verification and enforcement, and less central to toll collection. Just like toll booths that we talked about earlier didn't disappear overnight, gantries won't either. But they will slowly fade into the background. So let's think about the big picture. If you zoom out far enough, the trend is clear. Tolling has moved from physical interaction to electronic detection to software-driven systems to data-based mobility management. And the end goal is very simple. Charge fairly, manage congestion, and keep traffic moving. Let's make the experience effortless to drivers. So the next time you're driving on a toll gantry or on a toll road and you barely notice it, remember what just happened. You experienced decades of engineering compressed into a single second or the snap of a finger. From cash booths and concrete plazas to invisible sensors and digital billing to a future where tolling may not even feel like tolling anymore. It's coming, it's exciting, and it's a very cool technology. And with that, I'm Marquis. This is Tech That Moves Us. And I really want to hear from you. Would you trust the future where your car handles tolls automatically? Or do you still want to see the price before you drive? So let me hear in the comments below. Hit like, subscribe if you're enjoying hearing more about the hidden tech that gets you from point A to point B. And I'll see you on the next one.